Derek Chavez is him. Plus, one two-time champ leaves the game and another one enters in her place. A movie promo that actually kind of works for once. Surprisingly solid kicking skills. Michaela stays hot. Ben most certainly does not. A tie vote turns into flipping a coin. And we get what maybe should be the new standard for Hall Brawl eliminations. It's the Challenge 41 Vets and New Threats Episode 5 recap coming up right now. What up, my fellow Challenge lovers? Welcome to The Challenge Historian, where we dive deep into all things MTV's The Challenge, past, present, or future, if it's happening in the Challenge universe. We are here to document it. I am your host and dedicated Challenge Historian, Jacob Hollaball. Thank you so very much for being here with me today to dive into Episode 5 of Vets and New Threats, The Challenge 41. There is not much to cover up top. We will be continuing to recap this season, likely on Thursdays when we can on Wednesday nights. Sometimes have to wait until Friday. That next episode covering the Fresh Meat 2 with Alan over on Caffeine Confessionals will be out sometime next week. We are actually recording that in just a few hours from right now when I am recording this. Completed the rewatch yesterday. Love it. As always, one of the best seasons, one of my absolutely favorite seasons. Can't wait to talk with Alan about that. So those will be over on Caffeine Confessionals podcast, YouTube channel, anywhere you get Alan and his content. I will be sharing them here on my channel as a post on my Instagram and things of that nature as well. So you'll find those links anywhere that you find either of us. Otherwise, let's dive right on in. There's no other programming notes or reminders or anything like that. Thanks as always for being here. Thanks for tuning into the challenge as well as this podcast. Viewership has been up the last couple of weeks, so that's maybe a good little sign, a good little trend for the show. Without further ado, episode 5, Vets and New Threats. Here we go. Classic walk through the episode here again this week. It makes sense to go chronologically. Let's talk pre-daily challenge, and we are at that point of the season, even with the 90-minute episodes, which I know are really like 60 or 65, whatever, after commercials and everything like that. I will just say, and this is partly, if this happens every time I rewatch older seasons, but man, the pacing of when you watch an older season, like I just went through and watched Fresh Meat 2, is just the 90-minute episodes maybe aren't always necessary or worth it. And maybe I kind of almost was wishing these are 60 minutes because the pace moves a little bit slower when you're directly comparing it to. But I digress. What I was really trying to say was the pre-daily challenge section, even within these long episodes, is getting shorter and shorter by the week here. And this one was pretty short, but a couple quick things to point out. One, we did get bus footage. I asked for bus footage. They gave us bus footage. Was the exact bus footage I would have liked to see? Maybe not, but they did give us bus footage. So kudos to them for, at least throwing some of that in there. And I do kind of like the idea of like the vet bus in the threat bus, at least to the dailies or eliminations or whatever they were coming back from when we saw that footage open. Second thing is Aneesa. She will come up later in the tie vote, but I will say here, this was the moment. We get the little moment where the rookies are having their little, meeting, and Aneesa kind of tries to eavesdrop. She almost gets caught and then actually avoids getting caught to only kind of sneak back up on them and admit that she was listening. And in that moment, I was just like, Aneesa, this is your shot. Do something interesting. Do something interesting and entertaining and be like, hey, y'all, I'm not trying to eavesdrop. I'm trying to get in with y'all. Like I've been playing this game with all these other fools for a long, long time, and it never has worked out for me. And I would like to be your mole. I would like to be your rat on that team. And I would like to be in your alliance firmly and with you and, everything else. Like that would be interesting and be like, hey, look at this. Well, a different storyline, a different arc for Aneesa to go down, something entertaining and interesting to have happen. And of course, that wasn't the case. She was just kind of eavesdropping, and we'll get to her again later and where she falls in the alliances, but same old there. And then finally, pre-daily challenge, of course, the biggest thing that happened is Cara Maria leaves the game. And I will say I was not aware, and I'm still not aware. I just haven't been in the lead up to this season. Really wasn't on social media almost at all, at least in the challenge social media and everything else. And so I still don't actually even know. I don't think things went great, but I didn't. I should have looked up. What went down. But obviously, feel horrible for Cara and her family and sending them love and prayers. And yeah, it's a bummer to see her leave the game. And it certainly makes makes a little more sense why maybe the performance so far this season hadn't quite been where we would expect it to be from Cara Maria, both in the daily challenges and just kind of as a personality in the house and mixing it up with people and everything else. And so yeah, sending her, she's a legend. I love her so much. Always team Cara forever and ever. And yeah, it's a bummer. And then it doesn't happen technically pre-daily challenge. It happens to start the daily challenge, but she is replaced by John A. 1 2-time champ out, 1 2-time champ in. And it's a very, very difficult spot, I would say, for Janae to enter the game. One, as she says, gets the call and is like, do you want to get on a plane today and come? And for Janae doing a flagship season, giving her responsibilities in life and the family and the kids and everything else, we talk a lot about all the All-Stars folks being willing to do All-Stars because of the short time frame and everything else. It actually makes sense that John A would be like, well, this is the way I would maybe do this, is like, you guys, like, I don't have to do the week before shooting even starts be there. I've missed the first week or two of filming. You're going to give me a check and maybe I'm there for a couple days. Maybe I'm there till the end, but the end is, now a much shorter period of time. Like, okay, like maybe that instant availability is actually the way to get, as a replacement, as the way to get some of these folks to be able to do a full flagship season. But it's a tough spot for her given how confusing the game already is. Like, it's one thing if she would just come in and like, this is your new partner who you don't know. The whole thing of the season is kind of fresh. Meet 3, you're with a rookie partner. That would be one thing. But the fact that it's like, you're with a rookie partner who will be a new rookie partner in a matter of like 12 hours or so from right now. And in the game itself, like, she does have Derek there, which is good, a bestie in the house, and that bestie happens to be tied into the strongest alliance and the strongest player in the game right now in Olivia. So that's all good, but not a lot of connections maybe otherwise. I guess both Dereks are going to be like good to her. Maybe she's got more than I'm giving her credit for, but just feels like a tough spot to come in and then also to do this daily challenge, which brings us to the daily challenge. So let's go ahead and move to talking about that. With the daily challenge, we get our, I think, annual, annual is the wrong word. It means once a year. There's multiple seasons a year, but once per season, seasonal, which is also not the correct word, but that's what we're going with. Movie promo spot, the promotion of a big Hollywood movie via a daily challenge and sometimes elimination with it. This one, both of them being utilized. And I will say a few things about that. One, this was a different choice of movie. I feel like it's almost always been kind of the action movie thing. I know we did Top Gun Maverick one year. I know they've done one of my beloved Fast and Furious movies once upon a time. I forget what it was in the last couple of seasons, but I feel like it's usually like more of an action movie. So this was a little bit different. And I feel like it's usually, they find a good tie-in. Like the Top Gun Maverick one, I believe, they were like in the plane. You had to like escape and jump out of the broken down plane into the water and do something or other. They find a way to tie it in, but it always is like, okay, this is like, any promo of this type is going to be kind of cheesy and weird and lame, or has the possibility of being. But I feel like the ones in the past, like what they've made TJ say and what they make all the people say in the confessionals and in their celebrations and everything else, are like really top level, forced, cheesy, kind of lame. And this one actually kind of worked. I will admit it. They like found a good way to both make the game here and an elimination later fit the vibe and the idea of the movie with the whole, of that and rookie and, working together, who's doing what here, what are you willing to give? Like all of it actually kind of worked, and it wasn't that cheesy. And them just being able, like, later in the elimination say I am him over and over and things like that, like actually it kind of worked. So I don't do scary movies as much. Jordan Peele's obviously a master of his craft, and the movie promo worked, and I can't believe I just talked about it for that long. The game itself that they then play because of the movie promo is really, really great. I really enjoy it. Yes, it's really long, and you don't always maybe need to make these multiple hours of digging in the dirt, but I like the idea of like, dig these things up, carry them over there, build a field goal thing, and do something random like kick a field goal. Like, I think that's kind of fun. I enjoyed it, and it definitely led to, maybe I'm just playing the results. It led to some very interesting and fun moments at the end of the challenge. Overall, really impressed by the kicking. When they like did announce the whole thing, it was like, I don't know, dude. Like, it's not as easy as everyone thinks to just walk up and kick a ball like up through, and like those uprights aren't that big. Like, are they gonna actually have to make it, or do they just have to like kick the ball once? And it's like, okay, you're good, you're good. But they did have to actually make it through the uprights, and I was kind of impressed, honestly. If you would have told me, and maybe we were lied, maybe the editing was the editing, doing a lot of heavy lifting here, and maybe there wasn't as many makes on the first or second try as we were shown. But I would have assumed that wouldn't have assumed that anyone did quite as poorly as Ben does here and misses, 15 times or whatever it ends up being. Again, maybe editing, maybe not, but that's what they tell us with the little Chiron at the bottom. But I would have been like, yeah, no, only maybe a couple people will make it the first try. Like, I feel like it'll take 4 or 5 kicks for most people to get it down and, have to think through. And maybe the couple people in the entire cast that have some idea of like what kicking form and where to kick and all that stuff will have to like chime in and help their friends out, give them some tips, what have you. And no, I overall thought they smoked the kicking. Definite couple standouts. Sydney, while I thought her in CT maybe would have finished a little higher than where I think 7th or where they eventually finished, but nailing that kick number 1, and good on CT for also being like, bro, this ain't happening for me. So you're going to have to step in and do this. But yeah, it was overall impressive kicking, obviously with one unfortunate standout of the on the not good side, and that was Ben. And what poetic, maybe not poetic in any way, shape, or form. I'm just saying a lot of things that don't actually make sense so far on this podcast. But the fact that the sports announcer, sports broadcaster, is the one that fails over and over at this. And it does feel like it turns into a mental thing pretty quickly that he keeps failing. I think if the pressure wasn't there and everyone else wasn't succeeding around him, and it wasn't like, oh my God, we might go into elimination over this and everyone's watching. And also I just dug in the dirt for an hour and a half in the hot sun and I'm tired and all the emotions, everything piling up. I think he would have been like, okay, calm down. I'm kicking the top of the football instead of the bottom, so it's not going in the air at all. And I'm kicking straight toe, maybe get a little side here, and maybe just calm down and give myself 3-4 chances at this. Nice, calm, couple step, warm in, and we'll be fine. And I think he would have been fine. I think if Ben went outside right now and someone held and had him kick that similar type of field goal, he would be fine and he'd be able to make it within a couple of tries. This one just spirals out of control. The heat, the pressure, the tiredness, all of it. And but does lead to a pretty amazing moment where Olivia's finally like, which I did have the thought in my head as they're going and they show him on like 9, 10, 11, and Olivia's just like sitting there. I did have a little bit of a thought of like, Olivia is like straight chilling, and I get why she's like bummed out and upset. Like, everyone else is making this. How hard is this really to be? But she also makes Ben chase the ball every single time. And I would think after like time 5 or 6, if I'm Olivia, like maybe stand up, be like, Ben, do you want to continue trying this? Great. I'm going to go get that ball. You chill. Give yourself 30 seconds. Just calm down. Like, we're fine. We're fine. There's plenty of people still digging. We're fine. And maybe run after the ball one time on his behalf. But ultimately, she obviously does step up and says, this is done. We're done here. It's not going to happen for you. So I guess it's going to have to happen for me. And steps up and makes it happen for her on the first try. Huge moment. Really fun, really entertaining, only to then be topped immediately after by the last second kickoff between the two Derricks for last place and going into elimination. And Derrick K on the bad leg as he's lining up and taking forever to line up was the first moment of the season where I really, really assessed the situation. Was like, oh yeah, this guy tore his ACL last season and has that big brace on his leg. Like, he probably shouldn't be there. Like, he probably shouldn't be competing. I bet his doctors were not thrilled at the idea of him like being like, can we give it a couple more months before you go back on one of these shows? Like, maybe just like 2 or 3 more months. And where he lined up, and it was partially because then he had the big knee pad on the other knee. So it almost looked like both of his legs had like massive braces on them. It was like, oh boy, I don't know about kicking. I know it's the leg he's kicking with isn't the leg that he tore his ACL, but he's got a plant on that leg, the whole thing. But he makes it, which is awesome, and leads to a great rest of the episode, because I think, it ends up being a good matchup in the elimination, and Derrick gets his whole big moment and all that. We'll talk about it in a moment, but he makes it. But it did leave me a little bit questioning, like, oh, Derrick, we'll see. This being on that leg might be a losing battle for him this season. Standouts, though, I do want to just fast shout out Jake, Aviv, and Cedric. all three of their teams, obviously Jake and Michaela get the win. Aviv and Cedric, and Cedric's partner, I believe, is Aneesa. Aviv is with maybe Will or someone. I don't know. Those three stood out as like, oh, you guys finished in a place where I maybe, especially Cedric and Aviv. I know Aviv's a great athlete, got the endurance, but this is a little bit more of like the strength side, and she is still petite while built and, muscular, and definitely lifts her fair share of weights and everything. A little bit of a bump up, of my opinion, of her, of like in a final when you have to do the inevitable one checkpoint that is like carrying something heavy or digging or doing something like this, like super strength based. Okay, great. And Cedric for sure as well, of like a little guy, but with a big motor, and I was very impressed with where they finished. So daily challenge complete. Then to the house and the club in the nominations portion of the episode, and a couple standouts, all that lead eventually to, Ben going in as the second person to go against Derek. But initially, Derek wants to take the big swing. There is some back and forth of like the rookies should put another vet in. The vets definitely want to be rookies. There's multiple conversations on either side of, we get Gabe and Jeremy, I think. On the rookie side, we get a couple different little vet duos or trios discussing like, well, like no vet on vet crime here, no rookie on rookie crime here. Like that's what we're not all on the same teams, but like maybe we should be just for now, and try to find where's the rookie or vet that's on the other team that we can go for, so you can kind of be on everyone's team at the same time. All of that's happening. Derek's like, you know what? I'm sticking with the vets. Give me a rookie. Give me one of the big rookies, one of the kind of favorites in the clubhouse for the rookie side in a Jeremy or Will. And Ashley saves Derek in a huge, huge way. Ashley completely and utterly saves Derek, because as impressive and dominant as Derek's elimination win is, that we will talk about next segment, I don't know that would have been the case versus Jeremy or Will. It certainly could have been, but weight class wise, those two both would have a little bit of a size advantage on Derek. That was not the case eventually with him versus Ben. So him not getting his wish and having someone like Ashley stand up and be like, excuse me, I know this, like we're not going to be the hangnail. I'm not in a solid enough spot to be the hangnail. To me, that means that I'm going into the next elimination, and everyone's okay with that. And, we don't need to do that. Why don't we go for someone else that we don't care about their partner as much? And maybe we go for someone else that you have a better shot at beating, et cetera, et cetera. And because she stands up for herself and very smartly is like, I think it seems like this is loose enough and weak enough that I can get out of this. It works. And she stays persistent even after Derek says straight to her face. And she says, I loved the conversation the two of them had, where she's like, and you don't care about any of this, right? And he's like, no, I really don't. This is who I want to go against. And I'm just telling you. Love that for both of them, but she sticks with it. She somewhat gets herself out of it, but is aided by the fact that then Olivia completely puts her foot in her mouth. And it's the first misstep of Olivia's season so far, where she has just been playing beautifully, dominating in the daily challenges, dominating politically and socially, and absolutely on top. And we talked a week or two ago about how that maybe even happened so fast that she hasn't totally known how to react to being in that position, because she, even in the confident version of herself, maybe thought it would take a little bit longer to get to that position and not just immediately be there at the start of the season or a week into the season. And this is the first time, though, that there's actually like a mistake of any kind. The group of them sitting around. She's, feeling on cloud nine, as she should. She is sitting on the throne. The one person who was trying to most kick her off of that throne, Johnny Bananas, is gone, mainly thanks to her being in that position of power. And so she's feeling confident and like, okay, if this person's going to be so upset. And so who cares? Who cares about being the hangnail? I'll be the hangnail. Like, who cares? It does not matter. And that's, a little overconfident the way she says it. I get how it's just like kind of in fun. And I get her walking it back and being like, come on, like I did directly say that, but like context and tone of the conversation and everything else. But it is a, her getting a little overconfident. And once you have said it, the walking back, I would have played mostly the same as her, as far as like, hey, like guys, I did say it, but context and tone, like, I'm also happy to not be. That wasn't a full blown like put me. It's fine. This is what we should do. This is the most serious conversation we've had, and this is what we're gonna do, and this is the plan, and we're sticking to it. It wasn't that kind of conversation. So I'm with her for that. I would have given up on that a little bit quicker if everyone was like, I don't know, dude, you said it, and we do need someone to be in that spot, and it would ultimately help your buddy Derek, who is supposed to be, kind of part of our alliance on the vet side outside of the UK thing. So maybe I would have given it up a little quicker if I was her, but she puts her foot in her mouth a little bit, puts her partner Ben, pretty much screws him over. And we go to the vote and we get a tie, and then we get another tie, and we get those ties. The first one, because we have 2 burn votes, one of which, Gabe, I understood. He's in this bad spot. No one on the house trusts him. He does point it out correctly to Jeremy when they have their conversation of like, look, I could be on this side and be at the absolute bottom, or I could be on this side and be on the absolute bottom. And I don't really want to be in either of those positions. So I'd rather just like, I'm either at the bottom or I'm not on the team. And so like, it's easier to just not be on the team actually right now until maybe there's a moment where I can join the team at a spot higher than the bottom. That's actually a better opportunity, a better probability of happening than being on the bottom and being able to move up is like, eventually, hey, can I join the team and in the middle of the class, middle of the team? Like, so I think he's actually in a solid spot there. And with where the votes in the conversation going, him and Lekka have decided like we're not at risk here. And so I'm with Gabe being like, let's vote for ourselves and burn vote and try to win. Because I have one person, I have 2 people in this house I was trying to kind of curry favor back with, and they actually are the 2 people that are up for this vote. So I'm okay with his. I don't love a burn vote almost any time, but I'm okay with his in the first round. And I'm also okay with him in the second round being like, obviously we have to place a vote. Lekka, can you do it? I would like to keep my mouth shut. That's the best thing for me. I think he actually does a really good job with both those decisions. Aneesa, on the other hand, not so much. We do get the point that is made here of Aneesa is Team Olivia, and Aneesa with these other folks in the house and everything else is just going to be like, has her new bestie. She has her new bestie to hang on to. And, she's had many besties over the years. And most recently, she through the 30s of the show, the era 4 of the show, her and Tori, besties, right when Tori came in, latch on there. And I'm not discrediting their actual real life, very, very good friends. This is not to speak anything of that. And I don't know what level of like actual outside of the game friends Aneesa and Olivia are. But I do know in the game, it is convenient that like the new up and coming female that is like kind of dominating socially and politically here is Aneesa's new bestie that she's going to be, most in line with, even if she is not, I don't know, anywhere near, like not near the top 1, 2, 3 spots on Olivia's side of things, but she's willing to put Olivia number 1 in her heart and in her alliance and everything else. When there's other people in the house, I would think she would be a little more, again, either like a couple other vets that I'd be like, just lock in with the OGs, the OGs, or like do something cool and interesting and like say like, I'm going to be the mole of the vets and I'm going to team up with mostly all rookies here. But she doesn't. She's gonna hang on to the new bestie, be in the new cool crowd as long as she can. And that results in another tie and a flipping the coin, which I know everyone is immediately same reaction as me. Everyone's like, oh, a tie is always great. A tie is good. TJ even says, like, how much I hate ties. And then he's like, and we're gonna flip a coin. And everyone at home is just like, ugh, no, that's so lame. Flipping a coin. Are you kidding me? But it is a result of just the format they have chosen. There isn't a way for this, normally it's like, hey, you 2 partners have to come to an agreement. And if you don't come to agreement, you're going in instead. And that forces their hand. Or, some version of that where the people voting that will not make up their mind could go in. In this one, this format that they have, and at this moment, they don't have a version of that. There wasn't a like, okay, like I guess they could have gone like Survivor style and said, now Ben and Jeremy are off the table. Everyone else, like we're voting again. Those 2 are off. You can't vote for them. Everyone else is back on. And so all of you that couldn't agree are now back on the chopping block, and it'll be one of you. That would have been good. That would have been fascinating and really fun. But I don't know. I think their hands were kind of tied. And so they flip the coin and it lands on Ben. And that is a big old bummer for him. We then go to the arena and we get the circular Hall Brawl. The I think it was called Oppenheimer, the first time or the most memorable time we've seen it, where we had the double. I think it was Aneesa versus Laurel. Amazing matchup. I forget who's on the men's side in that one, but it was also a good matchup. But Aneesa Laurel was just a really good matchup. And I've always thought this Hall Brawl, the circular Hall Brawl, makes a lot more sense to have as an established thing than the regular baseline straight line Hall Brawl, just because the circle makes that impact a little bit different. You're running a little bit slower. There's a little dash extra different type of strategy, and just mostly the collision is a touch less scary. It is still running full force into each other, but at an angle, at a slower speed, because you're running in the circle, than head on, let's both put our pads down and give each other concussions or break someone's neck. So I've always liked that. And then they add in the football portion of this one, which is actually a throwback in some ways to the very first ever. It's not the first ever Hall Brawl. It's kind of like how Road Rules All-Stars is the first season of the challenge, even though at first they were like, it's not. They called the season 2, season 1, and everything like that. Derek Kaczynski, who is still here and almost ended up in this elimination, versus Davis, I believe it was, on maybe Inferno 1, Inferno 2, somewhere around then, did a football version where they ran at like a little triangle, a little corner. They each started at one end of a 90-degree angle, and they had to run and pick up the football at the corner and get to the other side. And that was kind of the first ever thing we saw of what would become a Hall Brawl, that you could like call a Hall Brawl variant, just before we knew what Hall Brawl would be. And so this adds that football element back in. And I think this should be the new standard. And we've also seen the football. I had forgotten the flashback to I was like, oh yeah, Derek Chavez has been in a Hall Brawl before. He was in the straight up true traditional Oklahoma drill 2-on-2 version of a Hall Brawl type of situation back on one of the rival seasons and got that win. But I think this is the best version of Hall Brawl. If they want to keep doing it over and over and over, I think this is both the safest one that still is a Hall Brawl smash into each other, super scary, super entertaining, super exciting. If you get a equal weight class matchup, as we talked about multiple times in the past, including a week or two ago with, any headbanger style. If it's an equal weight class, fantastic. If it's not, complete dud. This one is, we'll get to that, but the circle makes the hit a little less scary, and then holding onto the ball takes the arms wrestling portion kind of out of it, and it turns into, there's going to be one big collision, but a little bit safer than the straight line version, but one big collision, and then just get by each other, and not like a collision turned wrestling match, turned dragging match, turned death match, if you want to make it that. And so I think this is the best version as far as a safety. You're still keeping the general awesomeness of this thing while making it kind of a little bit more of a safer, sustainable version. So all that's great. Equal weight class matchup, Derek versus Ben. That's fantastic. It means I was super amped up. I was super excited. And then I thought it was going to mean we would get a half decent matchup, and maybe a 1-1, maybe a 2-1 victory on either side, and a little bit back and forth. But no, Derek just kicks his ass. Derek dominates. The first round, the hit is a little more minimal, but Derek just sheds it much better. They go chest to chest. Derek slides right off it, keeps his footing from that moment and the rest of the way, where Ben takes a little first stumble, a couple steps in, fully stumbles and falls, and it's just an easy run for Derek. And then round 2, Derek lays the absolute wood. Definitely saw that little confidence boost of within round 1, both as you should be. This, as always, with a Hall Brawl or any headbanger, I am not talking like someone that is I would go in there and do anything good. It would be horrifying. I would be absolutely terrified and definitely probably not want to do it. But that first round got them a little confidence. Derek's certainly the confidence of oh, I can go all out in this. I'm not going to get hurt. I'm going to do the hurting, and gives that added little bit of the next round of I'm not trying to get by him as fast as I can. I'm trying to lay the wood and then walk over him and go to the bell and win this thing. And he basically does that. He knocks him on his ass. And there's a little bit of a wrestle kind of situation. But again, the ball adds that element of no, you can't just sit here and hold his legs. You're supposed to pick up your ball. Derek gets in, dominates. He is him. He wins. And it was fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic. Shout out to him. He's back in the game. The vets keep a person here for the first time in a couple of limbs, and Ben is gone. I really enjoyed Ben on the season. I do believe he will be back, and just enjoyed. He was bringing some personality. He was bringing some performance, and thought he was a good addition to this rookie class. And he will be missed, and I bet he will be back. I feel like he's going to get an invite back. The draft then ends the episode, and the draft is officially over. We discussed it last week. I won't go too far, but the draft's officially over. Everyone is just now with whoever is left. You know, the first couple people maybe get to pick between like two options, and then it just turns into, well, I have to be with this person, and I am not allowed to be with any of these people. So TJ, tell me who I'm going to be with instead. And we're starting to get vets mixed with vets and new threats mixed with new threats, which should be fun. Loved that Theo and Nany are now together after that little moment in the voting, but the draft is officially over, and I smell a format change to individual within 3 episodes. I'm calling it right now, making that prediction. It will not be announced next episode, but either at the end of next week with the trailer for the next week on, or 2 episodes now in the next week on, we will see a format switch coming in 2 episodes or 3 episodes from right now. We'll see that format switch take place. Awards then, best quote of the episode. 2 folks really stood out. Michaela, quote, "This is not digging to plant some orchids. This is digging to bury a body," end quote. And then Ashley gets the win of the episode. Quote, "Honey, Aneesa flips and flops more than a dead fish." Wait, I meant fish out of water, and then resays the whole thing. Ashley's the best. She had a really good episode. She gets the quote of the episode. Best moment, CT and Cara's brother-sister moment. Really enjoyed that. Derek versus Derek in the kickoff, the last second. Who's going to make it? Who's going to miss? Kicking at the same time. Thrilling stuff to end a daily. Don't get that super often. Theo calling out Nany and Aneesa, which I do think Theo was calling out Aneesa mostly and just didn't want to say her name. And then when Nany was the one that turned around and started talking back, that Theo was like, "Oh yeah, that does apply to you too." I think he was a little more like, "This is meant at Aneesa, but if you want to talk back, like, you fit the category as well." Loved that. We got to see a little more spice out of Theo. That, again, I believe him when he says it's there. They just don't put it on the camera or like put it in the episode very much. So we see a little bit of it here. And then Derek destroying Ben in the Hall Brawl, of course, as well. All those honorable mentions, but I would give the win to, I think, Olivia hitting the field goal and just the saga of Ben missing and missing and missing and missing, and then Olivia stepping in and hitting it first try. Is the moment of the episode. Is standout moment for me. MVP, Michaela, Olivia, Derek, and Ashley all get some votes. As much as I feel like I should give it to Derek, I don't like doing that thing where it's just like whoever wins the elimination is the MVP of the episode. That's not what this award is. This is, who provided the most on the entertainment side, more or less, of the episode, who is the episode about. And so I am going to give it to Ben. I'm going to give Ben on his way out, which does all actually ends up, I say, it's not just who wins the elimination. I'm probably saying that because I so often give it to the person who lost the elimination, because they are so often the focus of the episode. But here you go, Ben, a trophy for you on the way out. And finally, the power rankings. There is very little change in the power rankings this week, but the 2 minor adjustments that were made, I think, are going to be very important ones. On the women's side, I know she's the hangnail now. She got what she asked for, but I'm leaving Olivia number 1. I do think she is perfectly, utterly safe in this house. And I do also think she is good at the eliminations and is showing right now she is performing at a super high level in all the dailies. And so, even if she wound up in an elimination, I think she would have a good chance of getting through it. And I think she is just sitting pretty. She's still, I think, even when she sits out next week, like, I don't think anyone has a chance of passing her in total points on the season because of how dominant she's been. And maybe I didn't look updated after this week and she, didn't score any. So maybe, but she'll still be near the top at worst in the points. She by far is the safest from an alliance standpoint, and she's got to be 1. And Michaela's got to be 2. I'm bumping Michaela up to 2, Ashley down to 3. It's a small change, but I think Michaela's really, 1-2 dailies in a row, is sitting in a good spot in the house where she has her strong opinions about who she wants to work with, who she doesn't, who she wants to see in a final, who she doesn't, but she's not really making them super known and has been able to avoid even being in that power position 2 weeks in a row, making any waves or, upsetting anyone or causing any negative blowback on her. So she's sitting great. I still have Ashley 3rd, Lekka 4th, Sydney 5th. And I feel like that's a pretty strong top 5 on the female side right now. On the men's side, same 5 as well. One slight order change. Jeremy's still number 1 because I still just love if he gets to a final, what he's going to look like in a final. I still need a little more verification on the puzzle side of things. But I do know, without ever having watched his season of Amazing Race or anything, like there's lots of mental stuff on Amazing Race 2. So I'm guessing I don't think he's going to be like awful at it or anything like that, but I would like a little more evidence. But I think he's going to dominate the physical stuff and the endurance stuff, and that's a big part of the final. I got Turbo number 2. Those two are just locked in, I feel like, as the favorites right now if this house ran a final. And then I've got Jake third. I'm moving him from 5th to 3rd. He gets the win this week. Similar to Jeremy, I do need to see some puzzle stuff. And also, Jake is in that range of muscle where I start to have the questions of like, you'll dominate the thing that takes the strength for sure, but do you have the muscular endurance and the cardio endurance? Like, we need to make sure of that. But like, it looked great in this daily challenge, certainly, that took a lot of both of those types of endurance as well. So he's up to 3rd. I like where he's sitting. I'm keeping Justin in 4th, and I'm keeping Will in 5th. Those spots are a little more up in the air, loose, a little more dependent on, what they're asked to do if and when they end up in an elimination or in some of these daily challenges. But I think both Justin, especially, I think I want to keep in 4th because I think in a final, he would be really well suited for a final and just have to get through maybe the one checkpoint that would be similar to this week's daily challenge of like, this is the one where you got to carry all the super heavy stuff. And we just, we do the one strength thing again, and that one maybe be a little more dependent on who he's partnered with or whatever, but I think he's really well suited to the rest of the final. So Jeremy, Turbo, Jake, Justin, Will, Olivia, Michaela, Ashley, Lekka, Sydney, which does mean of my 10 folks on here, I have 6 and 4, six new threats. The men still dominated by the new threats. I feel like a new threat male is going to win this game unless Turbo says otherwise. I do think on the women's side, it's more of a toss up. I really, obviously I've got three vets, Olivia, Michaela, Ashley sitting there at the top. So that is episode 5. We'll be back next week. I did see a thing somewhere that sometime in September, there's maybe like a week or 2 break between episodes of the challenge. I will try to do a little better research and find out if that's going to be true in the coming weeks. But for now, there is an episode next week for sure. And they shouldn't take a break. That seems so weird to do so, but we will be here as long as there's an episode. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. I will talk to you next week. Peace.